Hello, everyone. I am here with Caroline Hellwig. That's correct. Said that right?
Yes.
Perfect. Caroline Hellwig of the film PISS on Patriarchy, which, how's that for a title? I love that. Personally, I love this film. There was so many moments. I had my fist raised in solidarity with you as this gal who just has to pee, becoming an unlikely taker down of patriarchy at a gas station. What I really appreciated is you really embodied your character. You embodied this slow burn of Marie with this vulnerability and also confusion of being examined, dismissed, violated by the male gaze. And then we got to really bask in your absolute refusal to stand for it at the end. So we got this great, grounded, relatable performance, and it was also surprising. Um, so I'll stop fangirling about you, Caroline. Before we start jumping into talking about the film, I'd love to hear a little bit more about you and your acting background. When did you get into the arts and maybe why?
Yes. I started acting when I was in school, when I was like 13, 14, and I grew up here in Berlin. And so there are a lot of theaters who have like a very broad spectrum of like youth theaters, and you can like really, yeah, get yourself into playing in like a proper big theater. And I really wanted to do that. So that's when I started. And then so for the longest time I thought I would become like a in Germany there's like a pretty regular path of like you go to the theater, and I thought for the longest time I would become just like a theater actress because that's what I've always loved to be doing. And then at some point I moved to Hamburg, so I left Berlin and started to get involved with other people, a lot of visual artists also. And I started to make my own films and like tried some experimenting with just like very small cameras and do my own stuff. And then I decided to, yeah, or it more or less kind of happened that I fell in love with the medium of film and kind of departed a little bit with this like very classical way of telling stories and
Yeah.
theater. And then it just so happened that I got very lucky that I played in some actually like the Lena Fakler, who also directed this film. We did our very first film together, so that's like the I think it was 2015, and I acted in it. And that was at the same time where I also studied filmmaking in Hamburg, but more as like a yeah, as a director or filmmaker or whatever. And then my agent saw that, my back then agent saw that film that I made with Lena. And so things developed. And that's how I kind of made my way into the industry now, which is super lovely and kind of like a twisted path, but turned out to be the perfect path for me in some sense. Like, how you
Awesome.
say, I don't know the English word, like autodidact very much. Like just you learn as you go, kind of.
Yeah, it's the artist journey is never a straight path, I would say. That's really
Yeah.
interesting, especially with German theater. I had one German theater prof, and he would always spout how experimental German theater was. So there is a lot of that you can bring into the element of filmmaking too, because they're always seeming to explode what theater can look like. So interesting how that learning can pepper out throughout your career as well.
Definitely, definitely. I think what's interesting in German theater is that there's usually like a very clear handwriting,
Mm,
like the idea of
mm.
having an interpretation of something. So that is very interesting, I think. Or to ask yourself, like, what is my point in regards to the story? Like, of
Yeah.
course, I give myself to the thing, but I also have I don't know, in German you say Haltung, like you also have a way of perceiving this thing, and this can be included in your process of getting in contact with it in a way.
And that keeps it present because it's your interpretation. So it's your lived journey, but it's also the journey of the moment, I suppose. So it keeps a piece fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, hopefully somewhat. Yes, yeah.
So you said that you've worked with this director before. How did you get involved with this project? Did she reach out to you about this?
Um, we have we have had been I mean we had been in contact on and off anyway, like since we first made this short film together. It was kind of like a match right there, like we just really got along. And then we worked on another film together, but we both worked like kind of in production, like behind the camera. And it like it was just always there that we wanted to continue to work with each other again. And then, yeah, she told me about this film and about the script, and I was like, I was very, very interested right away. And I also clearly said to her, I do really, really want to play this part.
Please put me in. Well, it's nice when you have a collaborator where you can speak the same language, having been behind the camera, and also you know how to speak about being in front of the camera as well. So I think that's really helpful for those fruitful artist relationships.
Yes, definitely.
What I really loved about this film and film in general is the joy we get to experience in film where it's the day of all days and someone steps out of the ordinary and everything changes. And this film, I loved the technique of these fake out moments where
Mm-hmm.
your character imagines carrying out an action and we get the satisfaction, the catharsis of watching her true desires come to fruition. And then
Yeah.
that lovely cut to reality where it wasn't real. She didn't actually act it out. It was a dream, which it made the ending that much more surprising when we didn't snap back to her acting in a more quote unquote appropriate manner. So earlier when we were emailing, you mentioned this general domesticated impulse for female presenting people to overlook their own discomfort to maintain status quo. So, what was the experience like for you in exploring those moments where your character is living this fantasy and indulging acting against these discomforts? I was just wondering how you approached this kind of juxtaposition in the script.
I think you already said the word. It was extremely cathartic.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was also like that's where my impulse came from when I read the script, that I really wanted to be a part of it. Like I wanted to have the experience of um, tackling this topic and tackling this as you said, like this strange way of not showing that I don't feel comfortable. It's always just like, okay, you go on top of it with a smile, or you just pretend like nothing happened, or even when usually male presenting people are mean to you, you would rather not show your discomfort, or rather not put you in a place of actually marking a situation as that is not okay for me,
mhm,
because I mean, for various reasons might escalate the conflict even more, but then again also we're just socially um it's a social performance
yeah,
that just derives from the gender aspect. And so to have this having these moments of, I know exactly what Marie is going through, these moments of being kind and being nice and not really taking up space, and then in the end going all the way and really indulging. I always like to speak about the film as a um, female like rage fantasy. Like it's just like this horror, like you get so much satisfaction. Some people also came up to me and were asking like, yeah, but this is not like a proper idea on how to deal with these topics, or get into conversation about equality. And that's not what it's about.
mhm.
This is about outliving, like having this moment of where this burst of suppressed anger can just come out. Yeah.
And I think maybe it's appropriate because that's what art is for these cathartic moments, so
Yeah.
that maybe it will speak to somebody. Maybe you don't push it down. Maybe you don't just smile and nod and accept it, because the more we do, maybe it will come out in this violence, in an equal attack. Or maybe we can just learn to have a moment where we set a boundary or don't smile and nod, and we can find a place of better communication rather than it having to be violence.
Oh yes, I hope so. That's exactly the point. Definitely,
Yeah.
for sure. To communicate, to take up the space, communicate your discomfort. The
Yeah.
other person will be fine. Just trust that they can handle you saying this is not okay for me, and
Yeah.
we'll be good. And then we don't have to like run around, yeah, shooting people on a gas station. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun to do. Definitely.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, so badass. That's the full experience. So I was thinking of just the environment. As soon as you pulled into the gas station, stereotypically a more, I guess, male dominated space, I actually noticed my body clench up when I noticed all of these men observing you. I know personally I've had a group of men all stop and watch as I parallel parked a big U-Haul vehicle and then assess how I was pumping the gas. And I
Mhm.
wondered, how did this environment inform your performance? Or did you find any of the specific scenarios relatable to tap into your role?
Oh, definitely, for sure, for sure. I think it's interesting because so often, at least I have had it in my personal experience, that you when you feel like tension or discomfort in your body, maybe the first thing that comes to mind is like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like you assume that you're the problem. You assume that, okay, why am I not loose? Why am I not confident anymore? What's
Yeah.
going on? And this way of how systematically spaces are just designed and curated by a certain kind of people for a certain kind of people, um, it's so subtle in a way, but still, it's if you actually take a moment to look at it, it becomes very, very obvious. I could definitely rely on past experience for me. Of course, during the shooting, we had a great team, and also all the male actors that were part of the film were super supportive, super eager to tell the story, really wanted to get behind it, and were like full on in their kind of like protecting allyship mode. So for me as a person, it was comfortable and interesting and challenging, but I could go back to past experience for sure.
Yeah. And they can't be too supportive in the role when they're challenging you, because then they're not giving you the right energy to back off of. So it's nice that you did have that sense of safety in telling the
Definitely,
story. Well,
definitely.
thinking about the idea of kind of patriarchal architecture, I suppose, after watching this, it really made me think of the idea of architecture in our society in terms of politics. So, this idea that you just had to go to the washroom, which is, I think, a biological right. And it really did tap into bigger ideas of systems having a control over women's reproductive rights. And I was wondering if there were conversations about this with you and the director and the team about those broader themes that you're trying to communicate around exclusion as well.
Definitely. There was actually just a couple of weeks ago, we were invited to a super nice exhibition, which also centers female perspectives in arts and media. And I actually finally get to meet in person the founder behind this thing in Germany. She invented something called missoir. I don't know if you say this in English too, but like the where men can go and pee standing is called a pissoir here in Germany.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And she invented the same thing basically, but for women. So you wouldn't have to like hover over like a dirty toilet kind of a thing. And Lena also beforehand, she tried to get her involved into the project also. And it didn't work out due to other reasons, but still we were able to meet later on and kind of combine this film with actual events where you can get together and talk about stuff and kind of connect and like try to yeah, use art also as a medium to open up topics, and conversation. So that was super, super nice.
Wow, that's very cool how it's having a life in the political sphere and yeah, creating a broader conversation, because that's ultimately what it's about, despite being a very fun film at the end of the day too, and having that fantasy, right?
Definitely, for sure, for sure. As I said, like there's also just the aspect of like very joyful shooting days, and just like to watch it is also super fun. So that is what I really, really like when we screened it also on other festivals, and I got to be in the audience with
Mm.
like the reaction from younger women or girls who saw the film. They had these moments of like, yeah, damn it, I feel the same. And then they were laughing, and then they were screaming. And so it had like, okay, it takes all of that into account. And that was yeah, that was really beautiful to see.
Oh, that's cool. In terms of audience responses, has there been any responses that have surprised you?
I think I think what I kind of hinted on beforehand, that I got like a comment from like one or two people who were like, yeah, but violence isn't an option, and if we want to like reach communal integration and equality, we shouldn't like perpetuate cycles of violence and like redo this kind of thing. I felt that was interesting, because I somewhat agree. I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm completely on your side. I get your point, but that's kind of not what the movie is doing. Like,
Yeah.
that's a whole different movie. That's a whole different conversation in a way.
Mhm.
But
At least
also
keep the
interesting,
conversation going.
if it leads to that, and if it leads to you having this impulse to say that sentence, then it's also a good thing. So
Yeah.
better this than nothing, I guess.
I think we have to acknowledge the systems in place first before we can really get to that place. But yeah,
Very
that's,
sad,
that's
yes.
interesting. So, if our listeners haven't watched your film yet, what would be your elevator pitch to make people go out and watch it?
Oh,
Bring you
it's
on the
gonna
spot.
have a crazy 10-minute ride of absurdity and humor and a female rage fantasy. Just watch it. It's fun.
Yeah, you should put that on the poster.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good selling point. You can market it with that. Yeah, that's excellent. And do you have any other projects that we can keep our eyes out for?
I'm very happy about a series that is coming out this fall. It's called Lust or Lust, and it also super nice shooting experience. It's about a young couple who's kind of trying to open up their relationship, and I had the lucky part to be like one of the people that one of the partners kind of meet in one episode, and then they have something going on. And it was for me one of the first. It was actually my first experience of doing like nudity and sex scenes, and we had a intimacy coordinator,
Nice.
which I cannot believe how people like did films without them
Yep.
anymore. And I am very fortunate that my first experience ever was with an intimacy coordinator, so I came into that very smoothly. And it turned out great. It's like very close to the heart. It's funny, but it's not trying to be funny. It's like very delicate, and yet
Mm.
still very grounded in like the um, banal, embarrassing moments of when you try to reach intimacy with a person, and sometimes it's working, and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Doesn't
I would
need to try
definitely.
to be funny because life's
Mhm.
funny enough sometimes.
Yeah,
Just being
yeah.
a vulnerable little human
If
wonder.
you want it or not, like it happens either way, and it's beautiful if you get the chance to really embrace that.
That's awesome. Well, I'll definitely keep my eye out for that. And is there anywhere else that we can see Piss on Patriarchy? Is it going to be in any other festivals or what's the
I
life for it?
I think so. To be honest, I don't. I'm just like I get noticed by Lena once in a while, like, hey, we're so I don't know. I think it's still doing the festival tour, and yeah, as I said, we get lucky to be shown at some very great places. Some of them I could join. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's. I think if like the run through was kind of over, if I thought she wanted to release it, just to have it like open for streaming, like open source for everyone. But I think there's still more coming. I don't know
Well,
which
it,
one.
it continues to be relevant, and I think there will be, yeah, very relevant meetings for it and keep the conversation going. But thank you for this conversation today. It's such a pleasure to talk with you and dig through this film. That's one of my favorite things after a film is saying, I have so many questions, and what about this idea, this idea? So you were a great guest to do that with.
Thank you
And
so much for the time. I
hopefully
really
we'll
enjoyed
talk
it.
soon about future projects.
Oh, yes, let's do that. Have a great day.
Yeah, you as well.